Welcome back to Aaron's Opinion, everyone. Today we are very honored and very pleased to be joined by Sunny Izarike. Sunny, I believe, is originally from Nigeria and now hails to us from Portugal. As I begin every episode of Aaron's Opinion, I ask one question and then I help you to tell your story. Who is Sunny Izarike?
Well, well, it's my pleasure to start with meeting you, and I'm super excited being part of this podcast today.
You're always welcome.
Sonny, Sonny Zurike is my name, originally from Nigeria. I am an Igbo man by tribe and a visually impaired lawyer.
Ah.
I hold an LLM in human rights from the University of Aberdeen, Scotland, which is in the UK. And I'm currently pursuing a PhD in law here in Lisbon, which is Portugal. Um, I am an artist. I'm a singer. I'm a composer. Have a number of albums out there. An ordained evangelist. Uh, a father of 6 children, husband of one wife, and I'm an author. I've written a couple of books, and a lover of humanity. I have about two organizations for the blind. One is Redemption International for the Blind, and our core object at Redemption International for the Blind is to make books accessible for the blind. Let's convert books into accessible formats, audio, braille, electronic. And the other is African Blind Leadership Forum. I'm also the founder of that organization, currently the chairman of the board. And what we do there basically is to champion the rights of the African blind child. Um, I think that could be all about me.
I think
That's what
that's
I
a
think.
I think that's a great place to start.
Mhm.
So what? First of all, let's kind of rewind the recording here a moment.
Mhm.
What can you tell me about growing up in Nigeria? What can you tell me about growing up blind in Nigeria? And what can you tell me about your inspiration and motivation to become a successful lawyer and a successful person who is blind and from Nigeria? So, really dig into the philosophy of your being and your life.
Well, I must tell you that growing up in Nigeria as a blind child was not an easy thing, and it's still not an easy thing. It could be quite challenging, especially Nigeria does not have all it takes. It didn't have and still does not have all it takes to train a blind child. I'll tell you, in the school, my primary school, which was a special school for the blind, I think in my class we were basically around 10 or so. Yet we all didn't have access to the braille writing frames. We didn't have access to typewriters. You know, without a typewriter, you will not be able to um, to write exams. You won't be able to communicate with the outside world. So we needed to learn how to type using the manual typewriters then, and we didn't have access to them. We just couldn't buy them. Government even didn't support, and there was not one book in Braille at the primary level, secondary level, tertiary level. I had to do everything on my own just to ensure that I managed to pass my exams because most of the textbooks were not in accessible formats. We had literatures from America, but those literatures, though they're in Braille, but they are not very relevant. They're not relevant at all to the educational system in the country. There are literatures, perhaps, that Americans use, novels, all these Christian materials, but there was not like Eze goes to school. Obi is not a boy. These are some of the books we used those days. There was not one in Braille. There's still not one in Braille till date. Anyway, so growing up as a blind child in Nigeria is a very difficult thing, very, very challenging. Most of us come from very poor homes with very humble backgrounds. Resources were quite scarce, no support system to fall back on. Sure, Nigeria is not a welfare system, not a welfare state. So it was not and still not easy growing up as a blind child in the country.
And then what drove you to become a lawyer, and what interests you about law? What made you want to be a lawyer? And really, what problem did you want to solve for other people being a lawyer? I want you to get into more about the philosophy, your philosophy of human rights. For example, philosophically speaking, what are human rights? How do you define human rights? What can you tell me about studying human rights? What is that?
Well, human rights are all about uh, the entitlements, the the rights of every human being. Um, your right to live, your right to freedom of expression, your right to freedom of assembly, your right to uh, access in particular, which is actually a major interest to me, especially for persons with disabilities. Right to access. Uh, what prompted me into reading law was basically to afford myself an opportunity to be able to defend, especially the oppressed in the society. I saw myself as a disadvantaged child, and I thought the best thing I could do for myself was to expose myself to the knowledge of the law, to perhaps be able to utilize the knowledge I can get from there and fight for myself and also for the rights of those who would be depending upon me. And that is what I've been able to do over the years. At the moment as we speak, my PhD topic is centered on accessibility, which is one of the convention rights, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Article 9, mandates states to provide equal access to persons with disabilities uh, to all facilities, services, everything that is open and provided to the general public so that we too can also enjoy direct access to such things. So that's actually what I'm working on right now to be able to see if I can help my country in particular, because we are nowhere near making this right available to persons with disabilities.
Right. Sure, sure, sure. So, where now I understand that you studied human rights at the University of Aberdeen, but where did you study law? Where did you get your law degree?
My law degree was in Nigeria, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, Enugu State.
Okay.
And that
Now,
was between 1991 and 1997.
okay. So, well, then that would lead me to my next question. So, what can you tell me about the way universities work in Nigeria? And then, what can you tell me about the legal system and the legal coding of Nigeria? How do the laws function within Nigerian society?
Well, Nigerian society has laws, but the laws are always generally not obeyed, especially uh, by those who think they are strong and mighty, by the rich, the politicians, those who have authorities. So in Nigeria, the law is mainly, I will say, designed for the commoners. The commoners are to obey the law, while the rich are to march on it and trample on it and have their way. I mean, just law in Nigeria is something one can buy. You can say justice in Nigeria is usually for sale. You can always. It's only of late that it began to change, but only under minimal circumstances. But generally, you can buy justice in Nigerian courts. Can one go your way through if you have the resources. But if you don't have the resources, if you're poor, you have no choice but to be bound by the law. Our legal system is uh, is under the common. I mean, we run the common law system, and just that our people struggle to keep the law. Nigeria, you can say, is generally a lawless society. Just put it that way. Simply put, it's a lawless society. Things just don't work the way they ought to work. Corruption is everywhere,
Yeah.
and that is why it's really difficult to pin anybody down, especially those who are privileged. It's difficult to pin them down to offenses and then have them serve justice.
Mm-hmm. It's very frustrating and very disheartening for successful Nigerians like yourself when you want to be able to help other people. It's very frustrating when the rich, as you say, just run off and don't have to follow the laws and buy justice. It's incredibly disheartening. That must be incredibly disheartening to you. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's very, very, very frustrating. And then, so then what? So then you would say then that the judges in Nigeria are also like this, either involved in these problems or don't really care themselves. I mean, what can you tell me about judges in Nigeria?
I think the judges probably you could say they do their best, but sometimes they're left without options. If when you
Right.
have very few options to choose from, you may not but bow to the demands of those in higher authorities. Sometimes they're able to have their way, but the government in Nigeria actually they rarely obey court orders. Rarely
Hmm.
obey court orders. I mean, you can ask Joe Biden. The court can ask Joe Biden to appear in the court, and he will appear. Like at the moment, Senator Graham Lindsay is
Uh
being
huh.
asked by a judge in one of the states in America to appear before a jury, and so
Right.
Senator Lindsay appeared. I mean, in Nigeria, no Nigerian senator
It's a good
would listen.
observation. It's a good
No,
observation. Yeah.
no Nigerian senator would listen to such. They will not appear. Yeah, they will not. But that is how it is. And what can we do? Hopefully, it could change in the future. We don't know.
So then, what would an attorney, what would a lawyer then be able to do? Like, what would the job entail then of being a lawyer in Nigeria with all this lawlessness? Like, What does the future hold for a lawyer in Nigeria?
Well, the Nigerian law school still turns out lawyers every year, uh, and law practice still subsists in Nigeria. You know, the population of the country is over 200 million, I think. So there are still enough low-placed people who commit crimes and would have need uh, to be arrested and detained and alongside taken to the courts. So such people still would need to be served justice. So law practice in Nigeria is okay. If you can't go to court, you can there are so many options. You can be going to what's it called? You can handle property. We in Nigeria we don't really specialize. Unlike here if you it's like here if you're not an advocate, you cannot go to the court, and if you're not a solicitor, you cannot handle some cases. In Nigeria, you can do everything. You can write powers of attorney. You can you can be what's it called now? You can go to court, and you can choose to just be uh, a commercial lawyer. You can engage in so many activities. You're not restricted to any particular field of the law in Nigeria. So there are amazing opportunities for them. Just that we are not still able to bring or serve justice to those
Right.
uh, who are powerful. You can put it that way. Those with some measure of might and power.
Indeed.
They're still not able to hold them
Understood.
accountable.
I know. Understood, Sonny. Thank you. Now, and how and when? Well, when and how did you leave Nigeria for Portugal? Why did you? How and why did you end up in Portugal?
Well, it was in 2016. Then I was working with Ministry of Justice, Owerri, Imo State, one of the states in Nigeria, and a new governor came in and politicized our salary. And at the end of the day, he succeeded in curbing the salary to a level that was no longer manageable to most of the lawyers in the ministry. So a lot of us left government service, including myself. It was actually at that point that I decided to go for my PhD in law. I had thought that I've had enough and I wouldn't want to continue in civil service. So I guess civil service is not designed for me as a person. That's my feeling. And so I, the very best I could think was to just leave for a PhD. And that was what I did in 2016.
Sure. Sure. Now, how did you end up in Portugal though? Were you just researching places where that were good, where you could have a good university experience, or why Portugal?
Well, at first I thought of going back to University of Aberdeen to do a PhD. But believe it or leave it, in the night while I was resting, I I saw myself in a kind of trance, and I found myself in a land where the language spoken was not English. It was quite strange to me. I couldn't understand what they were speaking in that trance. And when I got up, I was prompted in the spirit to go search for universities outside the United Kingdom. That was exactly what I did. So the first country that came to my mind was Portugal, and I didn't know much about Portugal. So I went online and then searched and found the university I'm in today. I I wrote them, applied, and first response was positive, and that was it. So basically, it came by way of revelation. That's the best way to put it. I I first heard about this language in the trance, and then it physically manifested
It's
some months
beautiful.
thereafter.
That's really cool. Basically, you had a dream. You had a dream that you were in Portugal.
More or less like a dream. Yeah.
Right, right. That's kind of beautiful. That's definitely beautiful, and I definitely believe it. I definitely believe you. That's so
Uh-huh.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, anyway, since you had a dream in Portuguese, how's your Portuguese now? Do you speak Portuguese really well now? Now that you were given the
Mm.
dream?
Not at all. My
Oh, so
Portuguese
you
is
mean the
very
dream
poor.
didn't really? So the dream only pulled you to Portugal. It didn't actually help you to learn the language at all.
I am learning the language, but it's very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese is quite complicated. I know a few things in Portuguese, but I can't really say I'm good in Portuguese. No,
Right, and I have a
I can't
great
lay such a claim.
yeah, yeah, and I have a great appreciation for being bilingual because I'm a French speaker. I also speak French, so I think it's really important and really special to be able to maintain other languages and things like that. So that is
Amazing. So
really
you speak French and English.
right, correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's dig in more to Redemption International for the Blind, this organization that you've set up to basically provide accessible books to blind people in Nigeria. So, how really break it down for me if you want? How does all of that work, and how does all of that, as you say, manifest itself?
Yeah. Can you reframe the question?
Well, in
I'm on
other
a
words,
Zoom meeting.
sure. In other words, what can you tell me about the first organization that you mentioned, Redemption
International
International?
for the Blind. Hmm.
Right, indeed. What can you tell me about that? Break down the talk about the history of it, what steps you needed to take to start the organization, how the organization works, what
Okay.
the successes are, the whole try to paint if you want the picture of that organization.
All right. Redemption International for the Blind was born out of my own personal experience when I arrived Aberdeen to study in the university. I discovered that the facilities I needed to succeed academically were readily available. The university had um, a center, a Braille unit center, where they could Braille whatever material I needed. They also were able to produce my materials in audio format if I needed. All the computers in the university had screen reader, especially JAWS, all of them. Whether in the school or in the students halls of residence, the systems everywhere. So you could comfortably walk into any of the booths and study if you had wanted. And these are the things that we do not have available in our universities. Like I
Right.
did say earlier, from year one at University of Nigeria until I finished, there was not one single law book in Braille in accessible formats for me, whether it was an audio, electronic, or Braille. But in Aberdeen, everything became readily available, and the experience was a very lovely one. So I felt I could replicate same back home. that was actually what motivated me. The first thing I did was to register Redemption International for the Blind in Aberdeen in 2009, and then but I had to move. I had to leave Aberdeen like 2 years thereafter, back to Nigeria. So I also had to go with my vision. And back home, every year I would hold an annual convention, annual charity convention for the blind, and with half of my salaries for the year, I would acquire different kinds of facilities, laptop computers, desktop computers, typewriters, tape recorders, braille papers, braille writing frames, and I make sure the necessary softwares were installed in those I needed to be installed with such softwares like the screen reader and the rest of them. And we give them out to the blind for free. And the blind would come from all parts of the country, and we'll host them to a day or two event, and they go home with everything that we're able to get for them. So basically, I was sponsoring the whole thing myself. And right now, as I speak, Redemption International for the Blind is registered in Portugal, is registered officially in Nigeria. We have a functional office in Nigeria. Our audio recording studio is functioning. We're able to been able to turn out some books into audio. Our electronic uh, conversion room is equally working. We've been able to convert some books into electronic format. It's a braille unit that we still um, we still have some challenge there because we've not been able to get the kind of braille embosser that we had wanted. Anyway, I had a bigger dream, but I can see because we still have not been able to build a strong donor base. And more or less, I'm the one still financing the activities, the projects, in the office. We have not been able to get the kind of embosser we had wanted. But even moving forward, I don't think we can get it right now. It's going to cost us so much. I was dreaming of getting a Braille. A Braille is produced in Norway, but because it's not feasible because of the price, hopefully we shall think of buying the normal Everest embosser or in index, I think, and then we'll manage with it for now. But that's the only unit that is not functional yet in that office. Otherwise, everything is working very well. We have some volunteers who are assisting us, and we have some staff who are assisting us. But those staff they're not being paid for now because we don't have money to pay them. But hopefully, as we progress and as we grow, we shall begin to pay. That's the history of Redemption International for the Blind
I
in a
love it.
nutshell.
I I love that history. And I just love the fact that you're doing that. Really what it comes down to is you're educating people in Nigeria. So it's essentially you're providing braille material, accessibility material, audio material. When you do all of those things, you're giving someone an education. That is so good. I'm so
Thank
pleased
you.
to hear that.
Thank you
So
so very much.
that really means everything. I mean, that means everything to me. That means, and this is going to sound very strange. That sounds everything to me as an American. And
Mm.
you didn't know this ahead of time, but I
Okay.
actually have a friend of mine who lives in America now who is from Nigeria and he's blind, and we'll call him D.
Okay.
And D, like you were saying, has many of the same obstacles as you, and would have agreed with everything you've said so far about Nigeria.
Okay.
And so I'm actually quite familiar with your country. So I've actually met many wonderful Nigerians like yourself and my other friends, and yeah. But really, what it comes down to is your organization, Redemption International for the Blind, is important because you're giving people in Nigeria an education, and
Sure.
that's the greatest dose of power. It's the greatest sense of medicine that that country needs. if you ever want to have any hope of making people follow the laws in Nigeria, which to be just to be pessimist, just to make sure that
Mhm.
your glass of beer is half empty, I really don't think that things are going to change in Nigeria. How do
Mhm.
I know that? Because quite frankly, you're a wonderful person and I support everything about you. I want you to understand this. But also too, the problem is that if Nigeria was going to change, it would have changed a long time ago. You know, it's
100%.
it's very clear to me that the problem, and every country has them, every society has them, but it's clear to me that the problem people in Nigeria want to keep holding your country back, and shame on them. But God bless you, God bless Sonny, because you're educating people, and that's really what that comes down to. So cool, um, as far as the textbook goes for the recording studio that you have there, I love talking about that. So, are most of the textbooks written in English, or are some textbooks written in Yoruba and Hausa and Igbo? Like, what can you tell me about the languages that are used in academic education?
Oh, it's English mainly.
Mainly
But
English, I
yeah,
see.
but I know there are some books that are written in these other native languages. We have not recorded any of them for now. It's English all through for now. And most books in Nigeria are written in English. English is the lingua franca,
Right.
is the major language spoken in the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes, my friend D grew up speaking Yoruba, and his mother, who we'll call B, grew up speaking Hausa. So I'm very
Oh,
familiar
okay.
with. Indeed,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I think you can educate me about it if I get it wrong, but I think there's at least 540 languages in the country. It's a very fascinating thing to me, all the different diversity and all the different languages. You know,
Yeah,
you
I
would
think
you
they're
would
close
you
to
would think,
they're close to
yeah.
700, I think.
700. Okay, even better. So that's very frustrating. Then you would think with 700 languages they would be able to figure out how to solve some of these problems. Whereas in America we just go with English, and we still have challenges even in America. But that's incredibly touching to me, and just thank you for that. So now the other.
Sorry,
Oh, sure.
sorry.
Go go
This
ahead.
is
Go ahead.
this is why I think Nigeria's problem is that of lack of a value system.
Right.
We are struggling. We have no common value system. Each tribe has its own value system, completely different
Hmm.
from the rest. And that's why we are really struggling in the country. We can't understand each other. The Igbo man has a different way of reasoning. He has a different way of thinking from the Yoruba man. The Yoruba man has a different way of thinking,
From the
completely
Hausa.
different from that of the Hausa man.
Right. Right.
And imagine the rest of the tribes. These are people who have different cultures, different religions, different understandings of life. So it's difficult for us to really cope as a country. And
Indeed. Indeed.
I do not,
Oh,
I don't know what the end would be, but
right, right. Well, the
mm,
answer the answer is, unfortunately, it's very sad. The answer is brain drain. You're an example of brain drain is the answer. The answer is
mm,
the successful people leave. And I'm sorry to say it, but that's to
but
be
that is the truth.
pessimistic. It,
That is the truth.
yeah, that's what would happen. So, I mean, can you paint? I mean, I know it's. I don't think you would, and I would not expect you to be able to express this really, but can you paint a picture for me where you take one situation, one day in Nigeria, and explain to me how an Igbo man would perceive the day, a Yuba man, and a Hausa? How would, like, what are you able to express? Like, what is the difference in the psyche and the thought process?
Okay, let me take this instance. Commerce. The Igbo man is commercially inclined. We go to cities, different parts of the world, and we engage in different kinds of businesses. We don't just stop at engaging in businesses, commercial activities. We try to take such places as our homes, like we go ahead to build in those places. We develop those places and we try to live in harmony with the rest of the members of the community. Now, this is for the Igbo man. The Yoruba man wouldn't do that. The Yoruba man do not go to all cities of the world. They go to a selected few, and they don't really bother. Um, they don't bother developing such places by themselves. They rather would prefer to live as tenants in those places, so that when they go home, they just need to go with their belongings, whatever they came in with, they return with them. The Hausa man, on the other hand, who wouldn't do either. If you meet any Hausa man, for instance, in the eastern part of Nigeria, the highest property he might have could just be a mat. I don't know if you know what a mat is. A mat, you can spread it on the floor and lie down and sleep on it. And you can also pray on it, because majority of them are Muslims, so they can just pray on the mat. They live wherever they find. They can live in the bushes, in the forests. Least developing your place or buying a land and building there. No, they wouldn't. So that is one distinguishing factor.
Super cool. Super cool. I completely understand. That answer explains a lot about. It's very cute. That explains a lot about my good friend D and his mother
Okay.
B. That explains a lot. Well, why didn't they tell me that years ago? Well, now because Sonny had to explain it to me. Okay. Anyway, God bless you, man, for teaching. Thank you for educating me. You have such a beautiful soul. I mean it from my soul to yours, man. But
Thank
anyway,
you.
this other organization that you were talking about, the second organization that you set up is the same thing. What can you tell me about that organization?
African Blind Leadership
Indeed.
Forum.
Right.
Well, it's barely 2 years old, so it's not been long. We founded the organization. It's equally a registered NGO,
Mm-hmm.
registered in Accra, Ghana. That is where we have the headquarters. And what I did actually was to reach out to a number of blind Africans from some other countries, like about 12 different countries. And I told them that I do not think we're being properly represented by the only organization of the blind we have in the continent, which is African Union of the Blind. That I think we need to have a second voice and a third voice and a fourth voice, and possibly many more as we have it in other developed countries. In America, you don't just have NFB. There are also, they don't just have AFB, American Foundation for the Blind. There are also other organizations that give voice to the issues of the blind. So we needed to establish a new organization that could help champion our cause, and reach out to our people directly, so they can be directly involved in formulating policies for themselves. We'll be able to reach out to the government directly. This is us directly involved, and not just people representing us and speaking on our behalf. So we did agree, and we came together. But again, I did the financing. I don't have money. I'm struggling myself, but I just have this heart of giving. And I felt, since I probably was in maybe a better position than many, let me do the best I could do to ensure that it did work, and it worked. We had our first convention last year, but that was virtual because of the COVID-19 outbreak. But this year we had our first in-person convention, that one held in Nigeria, and a lot of people attended from so many African countries. Hopefully, we shall be meeting in Ghana next year uh, for our third convention. I believe before then we'll have built a lot of support and uh, and we should be able to affect more lives. The original idea behind African Blind Leadership Forum was to give back to the society. Actually, that was the original idea. Give back to the society what the society has given to us. Those of us who think we have been able to cross the bridge, we should be able to build a connecting bridge, a linking bridge between us and those who are still coming up, so that they can also cross the bridge. That's the original idea behind African Blind Leadership Forum.
Beautiful, beautiful. If you were to approach either one of these organizations from your perspective, what have you found to be the most consistent challenge that you, as a great founder of these organizations, has faced? What is the one thing that is consistently holding you back, or the consistent challenge that you have observed?
Most of them always ask for um, long-term project experience. They want
And
to
what do
know
you
how many.
mean? What do you mean by that, though? What I don't quite
They want
understand. What does that mean?
they want to know how many projects you've executed in the past
Right,
before before they can find you worthy of additional support or new support. And if you've not been able to execute any project in time past, like no or no donor body has given you, say, 50,000, 20,000, 30,000 to execute a certain project, and you've not been able to do that in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they would always want to say that you may not be able to, though they're not going to come out openly to say that is the reason why they are not giving you the support you need. They will simply conclude that you don't deserve uh, the
yeah.
assistance.
In
They
other
want you
words,
to
I
first
think,
get that experience.
right. In other words, I think the problem that you're facing, which is the problem that content creators face, we all face it, is if we don't have enough history backing up what we're saying, then people don't believe us in the future. So,
Well,
yeah,
I don't know whether it is not enough history. The thing is, they want to see concrete evidence
right,
of a project executed in time past for another similar organization like theirs. Take,
right,
take for instance, let's say um, DRF, Disability Rights Fund. They come out with a call for proposal, and in that call, they would always say, "Okay, tell us if you have done such a similar project in time past. How did you do it? How much was involved? How much did you spend? Where is the report?" And if you see that you don't have all these, you don't have all these, all these criteria, these requirements to produce, you simply don't bother completing such a call for proposal. At Redemption International for the Blind, we have done quite a lot of things, and the pictures, the photographs, the videos are there to show for them. But we didn't get the money from donor bodies. I did the financing myself. that wouldn't count to them as a project. To them, the project is the one given to you by such a similar donor body, donor organization like theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there is no such experience, they wouldn't think you are fully qualified uh, for assistance. Anyway, that has been a common experience I have had uh, moving. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
all this while, yeah, it's been a common experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think there are a lot of reasons for that. I think it's not just one reason. I think it's probably many that you're finding it so hard to find enough backing, enough donors, for these organizations. But you coming to my YouTube channel and connecting with my community is an excellent step in the right
Okay.
direction, without
Yeah.
doubt. How
Okay.
did now? The other question that I have is, how did our good friend from Tunisia, Radwan Mednini, how did you come across Radwan in the first place? If it wasn't for Radwan, I would have never known of a Sunny. So how did you find Radwan?
Yeah, I didn't find him. He found me instead.
I
he,
see.
he
I was
found me
afraid of
instead,
that.
and I was like wondering how he did it. But later I discovered. I asked him. He said he was on the internet searching. He went on Facebook also searching, and he saw my name. He saw African Blind Leadership Forum,
Mm-hmm.
and he saw my phone number, and he thought we could connect. He found a lot of fascinating things about me, and he just sent me some voice notes. And when I listened to him and heard him say he was a blind English teacher from Tunisia, he wanted to be part of the organization. I was amazed. I had no reason whatsoever not to reach out to him. So I quickly called him and we spoke. And he introduced himself to me and said, well, that he also has a great friend from America who has exposed him to uh, a whole lot of things in the international community, and he would want me to meet him. I said, why not? So that was it.
Well, thank you, Radwan. Radwan is a great guest. He's
Mm.
quite good at this. This thing where he finds guests, and he's like the guest manager, basically, the guest acquisition specialist. I mean, wow. I mean, I've never, I'm so appreciative that now I know of you, and now you're a friend here on Aaron's Opinion, and I'm forever grateful for that. But also, I've
Mm.
never heard of you before this moment in time in history. Have you?
Mm.
Have you ever thought about creating a YouTube channel yourself? Have you ever tried to independently reach out to people from other countries and try to share your story just kind of on your own?
Well, maybe I've not deliberately done that, but I have two YouTube channels. One is a personal YouTube channel where I upload quite a lot of things, uh, the things I do for myself, my music. Like, I told you I'm a singer. I have a couple of albums, and I have all that on the YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel. And then I also have a YouTube channel for Redemption International for the Blind, where we upload all our videos, all our activities, and the things we do. But maybe what we have not done is to do extensive promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we've not been promoting
It's
our
hard.
activities. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So perhaps that is why you've not heard of Sonny Zurich's. Otherwise, I want to believe I'm not really that unpopular. I want to believe so. Because if you go to the net and search for Sonny Zurich, I'm sure you will see quite a lot of things about me.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Good. 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 Good.
But it's my
That's
pleasure. It's my pleasure appearing on Aaron's opinion.
it.
Mm.
Truly,
Yeah,
truly is
I'm really super excited about it.
to me as well. You also mentioned that you're a singer too, right?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any? Oh, can you sing anything in Igbo?
In Igbo?
Yeah.
Why not?
So tell me what it is, and then give me a couple of verses in Igbo.
Okay. But I'm an evangelist, so whatever song I'm gonna sing will be a gospel song.
Good.
Yeah. So let me do this one, and then I will come back to tell you the meaning.
Let's hear
Mm. Jehovah Boahaya, Jehovah Boahaya, ịga n'elu ụwa niile, Jehovah Boahaya, Jehovah Boahaya, Jehovah Boahaya, ịga n'elu ụwa niile, Jehovah Boahaya. Song simply says, Jehovah is his name. Jehovah is his name. If you go to the whole wide world, you will still discover that Jehovah is his name. That is the meaning of that song.
beautiful, beautiful. Good, good. And what else?
I don't know.
Okay, that's good. That's a good answer. Cool, cool. Okay, and then like what other music like interests you? Like what are your other interests in music and art and things like that? You come across as a very cultural, very artistic, very spiritual person. So what other interests do you have in art and music and things like that?
I love blues actually, but I don't know many of them, so I just listen to them, but I don't know how to sing them. But I love them,
Yeah,
and I love reggae as well. I love Bob
me
Marley's
too.
songs.
Me too.
Uh-huh. And I do reggae at times. And my new work is the new single I'm doing right now is reggae complete. So I'm going to share it with you once it is out. I'm sure you will enjoy it. You will love it. I'm very sure of that.
Absolutely, I will. Yeah, yeah.
I love it so much.
Reggae is a beautiful way of singing, and reggae also holds a lot of interesting things about the past and history. So it's a
That's
very
true.
interesting music, and it's a very interesting art form. It has a lot of different flavor.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a sense, because you haven't really, and it's fine that you haven't, but it seems like you haven't had a whole lot of exposure on other channels. But I mean, have you reached out and contacted any Nigerian YouTubers who have channels? I mean, what do you know about? Surely there are Nigerian YouTubers. What do you know about their channels?
In all honesty, I don't know much about them. I know there must be
Mm-hmm.
a lot of influencers from Nigeria on YouTube, but I've not attempted reaching out to them. I sometimes I think Nigerians, I don't know how to put this. There was this social media influencer I approached some months back when I was involved in this Hallman Prize
Mm-hmm.
contest. I needed him to help me publicize my pitch so that I could attract um, more likes. He promised he was going to do it, but he never did it. In fact, at a point, I I developed cold feet, calling him, and I stopped calling him.
You got sure. You got cold feet.
Nigerians,
You can say you kind of had some. You kind of realized that you needed to have some second thoughts about reaching out to that particular person. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't responding. He wasn't doing what he said he was going to do.
This is a big. It's
And
not so that Sonny. That's not a Nigeria problem. That's a world problem. That's a people problem. That's not just because they're from Nigeria. That's just people. I mean, even influencers in America are oftentimes get into these ruts where they say they'll do one thing and then they don't do it, or they say one thing and then they do something else. That's a
you're
very
right.
serious
You're right.
serious problem. It's a serious problem.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, all you can do and all I can do is the best. We're only, you should only compete with Sonny, and I'm only competing with Aaron's opinion.
Hmm,
But
hmm.
but
Exactly.
well, exactly to you, you're successful. You understand, but a lot of these people don't understand this. They think it's always about competing with the guy at the top of the ladder. Always competing with the
Mm-mm,
king, the
mm-mm,
emperor, which is silly. Fundamentally, mathematically, if you think about it, if someone has 2K, 10K subscribers, little Aaron's opinion down here, I'm not going to catch up with them. Like, I'm not going to topple the empire. Really, I'm not. But for some
mm,
reason, the people at the top seem to think that their greatest adversary are the people, as you said before, the common folk. The people at the
mm-mm,
top seem to think that the greatest threat are the peasants like Aaron's opinion at the bottom. Well,
mm.
if I would beg the question and give out my opinion, I think the greatest threat to successful people are themselves. We're our greatest ally or our greatest adversary, and that's truly the way it works. But somehow they don't get it. I don't know. It's a fascinating psychology, though. I'm sure, Sonny, you have a lot of questions for Aaron Richmond and Aaron's opinion in the remaining time, as I'd like to say. What do you really want to know? What do you really want to know about me? Something that you can ask to really make me sweat to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster.
Okay. I think it would be nice if I could get to know a little about you first.
Well, like I said, sure. So, I mean, my name is Aaron or Aaron. I'm from America. I have glaucoma. I'm 31 years old. I have a congenital heart defect. I'm a teacher, which is why I'm so appreciative of the education that you do. And I got into podcasting because I want there to be a podcast that's supportive of you and helps you to share your opinion. And Aaron's Opinion is the most open podcast or YouTube channel that you can find, at least in my opinion. I give people chances, an opportunity, and privileges to come here and educate the world. And that's me in a nutshell.
And have you been able to turn out one or two successful persons in your podcasts?
Beautiful question. I don't know because I'm too humble to ask, but I suspect that anyone who is on this podcast feels a sense of love and kindness and inspiration and encouragement. So I think the fact of coming to a podcast, the experience of talking about these issues will help you permanently to be a little bit more successful in the success you already have.
That's amazing.
That's
Amazing.
well. I'm glad you're amazed. It was it's but don't get too happy now. It's just an opinion show. I'm not making any promises.
Oh, sure.
It's just a bunch of opinions.
Oh,
But
sure, sure.
it's a bunch of opinions, except for the fact that you and I are right about everything. Outside of that, it's a bunch of opinions. I love to joke around with people about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to get in touch with you, Sonny, and they want to get in touch with your organizations, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, it depends on how they would want it, but we are online. We have a
Mm-hmm.
website, we have an email, and we have a phone number. So if they want If you want, I could release the website and the email and my phone number
I
as
tell you
well.
what, guys. Click the link
Mhm.
in the description for more information. Sonny, God bless you. Have a very wonderful evening there in Portugal, and you are forever welcome on Aaron's Opinion. And don't
Thank you so
forget,
much.
do you know how I end every episode? Do you know what I say?
No,
That's
tell me.
fine. Help one person today. Help 1
And
million
help
people.
1 million tomorrow.
You got it.
Wow.